Tuesday of Holy Week is the day when we see two very different responses to Jesus. The one comes from an unnamed woman, and the other comes from a man whose name would forever be associated with betrayal, Judas. The unnamed woman comes to a party that Jesus was invited to that she was not invited to. Jesus is at the house of a man named Simon of Leper. They're having a meal together, they're having conversation together, and all of a sudden this woman, who we suspect had quite the reputation. In fact, in our day, we would say she was one who was a victim of human trafficking. In their day, they would just look at her as a sinner who was a prostitute. And she comes in, and she begins to weep, and she takes this expensive jar of perfume, which represented a tool of her trade. And she breaks it open, and she pours that expensive perfume over Jesus' head. It's this act of beautiful, real, raw, uncensored, I don't care what anybody thinks, worship. And immediately those around the table say, if she could have taken all that money that she could have used from the sale of that perfume and helped a lot of poor people, which sounds really spiritual and sounds really biblical, until Jesus reminds us, no, you know what? She did the more important thing. She was living the commandment that he talked about yesterday. Love God and love others with everything. This was everything she had. This was her representing that everything she had ever known, she wanted to, and she was willing to give up and believe that God could take her into a new direction and set her free. And she worshiped him. And Jesus said what she didn't know was that she was preparing him for what nobody else who believed in him wanted to recognize, and that was his own death and burial. And then there was Judas at the same time, making a deal with the religious authorities that he would frame Jesus. He would sell Jesus out. He would betray this one for 3 years who has become one of his best friends. He would betray him with a kiss. And on this Holy Tuesday, we are asked the question, will we be willing to consider how easy it is for me, for you, to 1 minute of the day honor God and the next minute betray him? Will we allow this moment of this day of the week as Jesus approaches the cross and his resurrection to reflect on how easy it is for us to go back and forth between honoring and betraying Jesus? Perhaps if we can get honest about that, and more, we can be like the woman who's pouring out everything we have on him, and less like the one who would betray him. You pray with me. God, I want to worship you. I want to honor you. I want to love you. You deserve my very best in all I am, but the temptations of this world make me vulnerable to loving you 1 minute and betraying you the next. So I pray, God, forgive me, and God, help me. Amen.